Alright, welcome to part B of the JavaScript plugins for Bootstrap. In this video we're going to talk about the Collapse plugin and the Accordion and the Carousel. So we'll start with Collapse, and basically what that is you can have an element such as a button where you can click it and then you can have a piece of content collapse or uncollapse, so open and close, which is kind of like a modal, except it's not in the lightbox, it's in another section of the application or the UI. Alright, so we'll start with an A tag. So we're going to give this a class of btn primary, and let's give it a data toggle attribute. And you'll notice that all of these JavaScript plugins, they have a specific data toggle value that they use. This one is going to be collapse. And then for the href, that's going to be an ID. Let's just call it my content. Oops, that needs to be a number sign. My content. And in here, let's say click me. Okay. And then down here, we're going to have a div. And we're going to give this div a class of collapse. Okay, and we're going to give it the ID my content. Okay, so this ID has to match this right here. Okay, and then inside here, let's put in a div with the class of well, just to give it kind of a background and some padding. And we'll say text for collapse widget. Okay, so let's save that, reload. If I click that, you can see that that content opens and closes. Okay, now you don't have to use an A tag, you could also use a button. So let's copy that. And this time this is going to be a button. And let's give it a class of btn default. And you want the data toggle collapse, that's correct. And then you don't want the href here, this has to be data target. And set that to my content. So now if we reload, you can see that that also opens it, but I need to fix this. This needs to be button. Okay, so now that opens the same exact content, both of them do. So that's the collapse widget. Next we're going to talk about the accordion, and if we go and look at the documentation, let's go to, let's see, collapse. Right here we have an accordion example. Okay, so it's basically kind of like vertical tabs. Now I'm not going to go and type all this out because it is quite a bit. I'll just go ahead and copy this whole thing right here. Actually, I can just click this copy link, and then we'll go and add some line breaks, paste it in, and if we look at the code, it's pretty simple. There's just a lot of it. We have a div with the class of panel group, ID of accordion. We have some of the special accessibility attributes here, which you don't need, but they are good to have. And then we have a panel heading. You can see that it has an ID of heading 1, and there's an A tag here with the data toggle collapse. So the accordion is actually part of the collapse plugin. Okay, has a data parent of accordion. The href is collapse 1. Okay, and down here you can see that this div has an ID of collapse 1. Okay, so this tab here is going to pertain to this content. And then down here you'll see we have a heading with the ID of heading 2, and we have our tab with the href of collapse 2, which is going to pertain to this here, heading 2 and collapse 2. And then we have one more. Okay, so let's save that and reload, and there we go, there's our accordion. So the next thing we're going to look at is the carousel, or the slider. okay, which is basically just a quick slideshow. You can change the images out. Now you should have in your files, you should have an image folder with these 3 images. Okay, these are just 3 sample images that we're going to be using. All right, so let's go and add some line breaks here. Okay, and then we're going to create a div, and let's give it an ID of carousel example generic. Okay, and this is from the Bootstrap documentation. I just want to type it out so that I can kind of explain it. Alright, so we're going to give this a class of carousel and also slide. And it's going to take an attribute called data ride. Okay, and that's going to be carousel. And then we'll close that div up. So in here we're going to have some indicators which will indicate each slide. This is actually going to be an ordered list. Okay, and this is going to have a class of carousel indicators. And we're going to have some LIs here. This will have a data target attribute, and we're just going to use this right here, this carousel example generic. Okay, we want to put a number sign in front of it though, just like that. And then we're going to have an attribute called data slide to, and we're going to set that to 0, so we can specify which slide we want these indicators to slide to. And this is going to be the active one, so we're going to add a class of active. Okay, and then we don't need to have anything in the actual list item. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in 2 more times. Okay, and then we just want to change this to 1 and this to 2, and we just want to get rid of the active class on these 2. Just like that. Alright, so if I was to save this and reload, you can see that there's no changes, nothing shows up. We need to add the wrapper for the slides. So let's tab that over, and we're going to go under the OL, create a div. We're going to give this a class of carousel-inner, and we're going to give this a role of list box. And in here we're going to have a couple divs. This will have a class of item, and this is also going to be the active item. Okay, and here we can put our image with the source. It's going to be in the image folder /1.jpg. Okay, that's the first image. And for alt, we're going to put an alt attribute and just put 3 dots. Alright, now this can have a caption. Actually, for the alt, let's just say image 1, and then we'll have a caption, which will be in a div, class equals carousel caption. And let's see, we'll just say this is image 1. Tab that over. Okay, then we're going to copy this div with the item class, and we're going to paste that in 2 more times, and we just want to get rid of the active class. This one here is going to be 2.jpg. We'll change the alt. We'll change this to 2, and then this one here is 3. And we'll change that to 3. Alright, so if we look at that, we get our first image. This is the active image. And I think I actually have one too many divs here, because this ends here. Or no, actually, no, that's correct. and you can see that it's changing on its own every, I don't know, it looks like it's about 5 seconds or so. But what we want to do is add some controls. We want a previous and a next arrow. So we're going to go right here. Okay, you want to go within the last div, don't go under it. You want to be within it. And let's put an A tag. We're going to give it a class of left and also carousel control, and then an href, which is going to go to this right here, carousel example generic, like that. And let's give it a row of button, and then we want to give it a data slide attribute, and we're going to set that to prev or prev. Alright, and then within the A tag we're going to have a span, because we want this to be an icon, so we're going to use a glyphicon. And glyphicon dash chevron left. Okay, we want that to be a left facing arrow. Alright, and then we can end that span, and then right underneath it we want to have a span, and then give this a class of SR only, and then we're going to put the text previous. Alright, and I think that should do it for the left button. So now we'll just copy this, and then we want to do the right. So for this one, we're going to change this class right here to right, and the data slide is going to be next. We're going to change this icon to chevron right, and this text will be next. Alright, so let's save that and see what we get. Alright, so we now have our arrows here, and you can see we can scroll through, but the width, we need to fix the width, and we can simply do that with CSS. So let's go up to our head area, and we'll put in style, and we know it has a class of slide, I believe. And I'm going to set the width to 420 pixels. Okay, we'll reload that.